So the new UI that you see in Apex 5, a lot of it was my work in the styles and the UI of it. So the way we changed from Apex 4 to 5, I work a lot on that effort as well. Actually, I'm not technically on the Apex team. You may find this hard to believe. I'm part of this special teams project. So I work for Mike Hitra, and we kind of I help out in whatever capacity I can. So Apex is a kind of part-time job / hobby of mine, you can say. You can follow me on Twitter as well. So it's just @Shakib, just my first name. It's been a little bit over 2 years since we had the universal theme, right? And before, you as Apex developers, you had to focus on all these different areas of application development, right? You had to focus on the application logic, the data modeling, the performance, the security, the deployment. And at the same time, you also had to worry about UI, right? Apex made it so easy to kind of build this compelling application that you were really a one-man shop. You were able to do so much more. But it was really difficult for a lot of people to focus on user experience or user interface, right? A lot of people in this room are probably not going to be experts in HTML and CSS and JavaScript and other front-end technologies. So you're going to use a tool, and the tools that Apex gives you. And that was the goal behind Universal Theme, right? We wanted to give you a user experience that you could build very compelling applications with. And then Universal Theme had these 3 goals, right? The first one was it has to be responsive. It needs to work on all sorts of different devices. We started doing this first with Theme 25 when this is back in like 2012 or something, when Apex 4.2 first came out, where we had this like responsive theme. And at that time, the entire industry was going towards this responsive applications and responsive websites. Now, it's funny, you don't really call something responsive anymore, right? You just expect that something works in all these different devices, right? Like next time you go to CNN or whatever website you go to, you just expect it to work just as well on your phone as it does on your desktop. In fact, you might expect it to work better on your phone because you're accessing it more from your phone. The goal behind Universal Theme has always been to provide a responsive user interface. It should work on any type of device you're using. The next thing is it was designed to be versatile, meaning it should give you all the building blocks you need to build compelling applications, right? It should have all the different components. And we're not there yet. We're not going to have every single widget, but the goal has always been to provide you this rich set of components you can use to build your applications. And then the third thing, and I think it's very important, is it has to be customizable, because there's no one-size-fits-all UI. You're going to require some customizations. You're going to need to tweak something. You're going to need to change the colors. You're going to need to change the size of certain things. The way components are rendered, the way cards look or reports look, and so on. So we wanted to make sure that it was very easy for you to customize your application's UI. So the Universal Theme had these 3 key goals. And here's what it looked like when Universal Theme first came out with Apex 5. This may be a very familiar site for some of you. And we also had this kind of gray look and feel, right? So we had the blue, which is called Vita, and this is called Vita Slate. How many of your applications look something like this with the blue UI? Don't be shy. I know a lot of applications look like this. This is a default UI, and it's interesting because I looked at a lot of Apex applications built with Universal Theme. I think 90% of them look like this. 90% of people don't touch the default. So that last little circle that I talked about, customizations, I think it's very important, but I'd like more of you to use it and really, use Universal Theme for all it can provide. So here's just a few theme styles. So this is the gray one. We also had this one. This is called the Vista theme style, and it's modeled after Oracle Alta UI, which is Oracle's UI for a lot of its cloud, cloud platforms or cloud UI. So if you have an Oracle Cloud service, you go into My Services, you manage your account, you run some other service, it looks something like this. It has like this type of UI. So the idea was if you're going to extend Oracle Cloud applications with Apex applications, you can do so and provide a similar look and feel. But then there's this thing. How many of you have used Steamroller? Okay, good. It's interesting that a large number of people said they use Steamroller, but also a large number of people said their applications are still blue. So maybe you just really like blue, I don't know. With Steamroller, you can do a whole lot of really interesting things, right? So here's an application. I kind of customized this, messing with some colors and some borderings and so on, and it looks very different, right? The same content is there, but if I'm using an application all night long, I might want something like this so that I'm not like burning my eyes. Here's another application I just kind of messed around with a little bit. Here's one, if I know a little bit more CSS, you can actually add like a background image in the background, and it kind of comes through. I'm not sure about the business case for this application, but you can do something like this. So there's a lot of fun you can have with Theme Roller. Recently, I asked on Twitter, hey, do you have a cool looking universal theme application that you want to share with the rest of the Apex community? I'd be happy to show it in my presentations, send me a screenshot, email it to me, whatever. And I got some. So this is an application used by 800 to 1,000 people. It's for chairing a meeting, and I love the way it looks because this guy put no effort into customizing it at all, right? He used it out of the box and he was happy with it. So I think it's pretty cool. It's a great showcase of, here's universal theme. I like the defaults. I think I'm happy with them. Here's an application in Belgium written by Dimitri Gilles from Apex R&D. And this is going to help children across Belgium, and I think it's being rolled out through other countries in the EU as well for some occupational behavior therapy. And this is using Apex, right? Very simple UI, and it's using universal theme. Now here's an application, very simple application, some dental management and sales invoicing system. Again, using some customized stuff, but this is actually an end user, an application for the admin assistants and so on, so they can make all their appointments and, see what someone needs to do. I'm not sure what company this is. It's kind of hard to tell, but they really like yellow a lot, and they use theme rollers, so I think it's pretty cool. Still not sure what the company is. Here's an application called Apex Cert. It's open source. You can go grab it on oropensource.com. It's a great tool to kind of check your application for a number of consistency things. It'll check like making sure your items have the right session state protection and all sorts of standards you can check against your application. Also using universal theme. Here's one in Norway actually. So this is a public registry of all the defibrillators out there. It's kind of hard word to say, but written in Apex, written in universal theme. Here's another one, kind of cool looking dashboard type of application. This is by Fidelity International. They kind of manage all of their systems using this application. This is probably my favorite one. If you want to buy property in Dubai, you go to a website called famproperties.com, and this is how you buy property in Dubai. It's an Apex application using universal theme. Of course, it's customized, but I think it kind of shows you, how far you can take this, right? You can just kind of mess with it as much as you want, and you get a pretty cool result. So people are doing interesting things with universal theme. You can see a whole lot more examples. It's got to build with apex.com, and I think there's like 100 plus, maybe a few hundred examples of public applications you can access which are using universal theme. So let's talk a little bit about the evolution of universal theme. When it first came out, it looked like this, right? The same screenshot I showed you before. We'll play a little game for a few seconds. Here's the old one, and here's the new one. Okay? I'll go back and forth. Can you tell any difference between these? So, new, old. New, old. New, old. I feel like I'm an optometrist right now. Which one looks better? Right? You might not notice a big difference. But if you look closely, there's a lot of small little changes. And that was the intention behind this update to universal theme, right? With universal theme, the promise has been, hey, you trust us with your application, and you don't unlock your templates and mess with the HTML and so on. And in return, we will continue to update this theme. And as we have new versions, you can just pick up the updates, you click an update button, and your application is going to radically transform and be something foreign. It's still going to look and feel just like your application, but it's going to be a little bit more modern, a little bit more advanced, a little bit more fine-tuned. And that's what we've done with universal theme in 5.1, right? So again, before, after, everything looks a little bit finer. Here's a page for doing a project. Here's how it was before. Here's how it is after. One thing you'll notice is the icons, right? The icons are a little bit sharper. That's because now we're using font Apex. The font sizes and so on have been tweaked as well. So not so bad. I think it was a good first try, and a little bit better in every small little sense. So here's an admin page. right? You can just tell that there's some extra finesse here. I want to do a brief recap of some of the new features in APEX 5.1. And this is because time and time again, I talk to customers, and they're using Universal Theme, and they're on APEX 5.1, but they still don't know some of the new stuff that's out there, actually. And sometimes maybe it's our fault. We don't make a good enough effort to kind of highlight, here's what's like really new, and here's how you can do things. So I'm hoping this helps a little bit. The first thing is live template options. How many of you know of live template options? Okay, so one person here. I think you probably know it, maybe you don't know the name or you're shy, but let me show you what it does. So template options in 5.0, you were able to have a component, which is a template-based component like a class report or list or buttons or regions, and there's a lot of options to change them, to tweak them, right? You can say, I have a class report, I don't want horizontal borders, or I don't want vertical borders, or no borders please, or whatever, right? You can have a region, and you can say, oh, I want the region header to be a separate color, or I want to have a maximize button, or I want to reduce the padding inside, or make all the items stretched. There's a number of these options, but before you had to go into Page Designer and toggle them off and on, run your application, see the result, go back and forth, back and forth. With live template options, brief demo, you go into your developer toolbar, it's going to cut off from the video, then you can quickly go and edit these things. It's a little hard to see with the blinds, but you can see that I'm making these changes, and it's happening on the screen live. Right? It's just like Theme Roller, but for template options. So you're doing it at runtime. So you can do all these changes. If you like something, here I like this, color fill effect. I can saves back to my application, and I'm all done. So you can really go and try out all these different template options that we have. To explore them, there's hundreds of thousands of permutations and mutations you can have with all the different options. You're never going to know what's going to work best, so it's best to just try them out. And the changes are back, straight to your application. I think that's over here. Much better, thank you. Okay, so the next thing I want to talk about is Font Apex. How many of you have heard of Font Apex before? Okay, good. So Font Apex is a new library. Basically for 5.0, we had Font Awesome, and Font Awesome is the premier icon library in the entire internet, right? I think it's downloaded like millions of times. It's pretty much on any place you go, you will recognize the same icons, right? They're just all over the internet. And I like the icons too a lot, but we have this very talented designer on our team, and we had a discussion, and we thought, what if we could, redraw all of Font Awesome, but also add a lot of custom icons and make sure that it works perfectly with Apex and with Universal Theme. What if we did that? What could we do? And so we did it. We came up with something called Font Apex. And not only did this designer, Bob Daly, did he redesign or redraw every single icon from Font Awesome, he also drew another 400 more icons. So there's 1,100 icons in Font Apex. So here's just a little video that shows you exactly how many there are. And this is in the Universal Theme sample app. I'll kind of walk you through it a little bit more later, but there's a ton of these icons. And you might think like, oh, it's just a little small icon. What difference can it make in my application? But you'd be surprised at how much depth you can add to your application just by using the right icon for buttons, for labels, for navigation items, and so on. It's a very easy tool for you to use to make your application much more useful. So Font Apex is designed to complement Universal Theme. Over 1,100 icons. There are also modifiers you can apply, and I'll show you a demo of this later. It's an easy switch. The reason why it's called Font Apex is no coincidence. It's so that we could use the same FA prefix. So if you've already been using Apex 5.0, you have all these Font Awesome icons. You go to 5.1, you make one change, and now you're using Font Apex. So everything just kind of works. The next thing I want to talk about is right-to-left support. So Oracle is a global company, and we have customers all across the world. And we also have customers in areas where they speak, where they have languages written in the direction right to left, rather than English and other languages which are written left to right. So if you wanted to build an application which is in Arabic or Hebrew, for example, it was very difficult to do this in the past. And with any mature, supported enterprise tool, you expect the tool to provide this functionality. So if you wanted to build a bilingual application or an application which caters to these needs, it has a functionality, has capability to support that. So a big effort in APEX 5.1 was to make it work with right to left. It's a very simple change. Here's how your application looks left to right, and here's how it looks right to left. So we didn't just flip the UI. It was a lot of work to make this happen, but now you can build compelling applications, even for a greater audience. Something else as well with this is that the icons also switch to the correct position. So you might still use arrow right, but when you flip it over, it's not going to point to the right anymore, it's going to point to the left. So that's also taken care of. So if you're building bilingual applications, it'll this all work. So right to left support, maybe not very useful for you, but down the road, if you need to expand, you need to cater to these other audiences, you need to translate your application, it's very handy to have it out of the box, ready to go. The next thing is the universal theme sample application. And we've shipped this application in the past with APEX 5.0. It's a packaged application. It's also available online. So if you go to apex.oracle.com/ut, you'll be able to access this application. And it kind of walks you through all the components of universal theme, all the design patterns inside. Here's all the icons. There's even now some reference and some API documentation. So all of it is right here. This is pretty much the de facto universal theme documentation. And with 5.1, we actually enhance it a little bit more. So we talk about, here's the design behind it, here's all the different components. If it's a classic report template, you might need to select columns with certain aliases. So this will show you, if you're using a cards report template, here's all the columns you need to select. If you're using a cards list template, here's what all the custom attribute means. So AO1, AO2, AO3, here's what they actually mean. And I'll give you a demo of that a little bit later too. But on top of all this, in APEX 5.1, we had a number of improvements, actually about 100 plus improvements. And there's quite a lot of them. It's kind of hard to see. But a lot of these small changes that you see, come from a lot of these changes. So, for example, Carson talked about this a little bit. Users wanted to have the ability to set a theme style just for themselves. Or if you're building a SaaS application, actually, the request came from the UK military defense. They have an application which is used by the Army and the Navy. And they had one application, and the Army and the Navy couldn't agree on which colors to use. They wanted to use blue and green, so the application was gray. Right? So everyone wins, and the application looks terrible. So we built this feature specifically for them, but so many of our customers find this useful, which is you have one application being used by different customers, and you want them to look different. So now we have a nice API for your theme style, but also you can expose it to end users. So your end users can go and say, oh, you know what? I want my application to look a little bit different. I want it to have another look and feel. And you can, of course, customize which theme style they see. So they may only see the 2 corporate approved theme styles you want them to. There's a number of other things. There's inline help text now. So many of our customers had help text for items, but they were positioned them in post text, right? So you have an item, like an email address, and you might want to say something like, hey, don't worry, we're not going to spam you, but you'd put that into the post text. But now there's a declarative field called inline item help where you can put that below the item exactly where you'd expect it. We also support icons now for certain item types. So if you have a text field, you would have a little user icon in there or some other icon. You can do that. It's declarative. You just pick an icon. One of my favorite ones is auto-sizing modal dialogues. So modal dialogues are a very nice feature in APEX 5.0, but whenever you use them, you have to actually set a size for the modal dialogue. So by default, it was about 600 pixels tall, and if you had a lot of form items, you might make it 800 tall, and you have some white space at the very end. Now you don't need to do that anymore. It's automatically going to size itself to fit exactly the content inside. So a number of other features as well, but 100 plus. And here's a summary of APEX 5.1, right? Live template options, font Apex icon library, right to left support, the universal theme application, and 100 plus improvements. So let's go into a demo of some of these features, and then I'll walk you through what we're thinking of for APEX 5.2. So actually, the first thing I'm going to do is go to apex.oracle.com/ut. Zoom in a little bit. So this is the sample application I talked about. And you can access it just by going to apexoracle.com/ut for universal theme. Here's how it looks. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take an application which I developed in Apex 5.0 and upgrade it to the latest version of universal theme in 5.1. So how do I do that? Well, I can probably go to migration tab, right, from the home page. And then there's a couple of sections here. I can say I want to migrate from universal theme 1.0, which is what 5.0 shipped with, or I can migrate from other themes. And there's a whole step-by-step wizard here, but I'm just going to click on here. And it says, hey, back up your application. Here's the migration steps. And in fact, there's a nice little video I can just kind of watch to learn how to do it. So click on the theme, click on the verify button if you want to, just to make sure that you have all the templates, see all the changes you're going to get. And then you click on refresh theme once you've seen all the changes. Right? And then you're done. That's it. So let's go perform the exact same steps on an application we have. Does everyone see this okay, by the way? Right. So here, okay, so I have an Apex 5.0 application. You can tell it's 5.0 because I said Apex 5.0. All right, so I'm going to log in. You can also tell it's 5.0 because the icons are the older font, awesome icons, and the title of the app says Legacy App. So let's go and update this application. And just to show you that I've kind of customized it a little bit, you can see that I use Theme Roller to give it a very Swedish look and feel. Hope you'll appreciate that. So here's what we're going to do. First thing I'm going to do is copy this application, right? You don't want to mess with your existing application. Always make a copy of it, please. So now let's not call this Legacy anymore. We're going to call it Modern App. Take a moment. Okay. Now I'm going to run the app. Still the same application. Now let's go and migrate this application. So click on Edit Application in the toolbar. I'm going to go to Shared Components. Then right in the middle, so this is how much we like UI. In this entire page, UI is right in the middle. In fact, Themes is in the middle of the UI section. So you cannot miss it. It's really the center of your screen. Now you can see that I'm using Universal Theme. It's the current theme, and it's subscribed from the theme repository. This means that it's subscribed to the source Universal Theme. So good, I can click on it. Here you can see some details. This is the most important section. It says Theme Subscription. And on the right side, I have a number of buttons. I have Verify. I can completely unsubscribe. Don't do this. And then I can click on Refresh Theme. So I like to show you the Verify step just to see what's actually happening behind the scenes. So it'll say, hey, here's what we're going to do. We're going to compare this theme to the source theme. Click on Verify. And then it'll show you all the things that have changed in a new version. So in this theme style, for example, I have a number of custom theme styles. Pink, like slate, NL, blue, green, so on. You can see some things are out of sync. The templates have changed in the new version of Universal Theme. I can just review them if I like. Click on Refresh. And done. So now the subscription has been copied over. It's one-to-one with the latest Universal Theme. So let's go and run this application. Okay, so what happened? First of all, the icon changed from being yellow to blue. Whenever you upgrade your Universal Theme application, your theme style will be reset back to the blue look and feel. This is because when you make changes with Theme Roller, the changes need to be recompiled again, and that compilation happens in the client side when you open up Theme Roller. So if I just run the app again, you'll see that, hey, same application. In fact, I have it open here, right? Looks pretty much the same. You can see some things have changed, like the header has, this area right here looks a little bit different, but the icons are the same. The effect of the cards is a little bit different. The colors are different. Let's go and make this look like the other color scheme again, like the other theme style. So open up Theme Roller. style, I'll just pick this. Whoa, something happened. That's okay. Let's fix it. Okay. Now I can set it as current. But basically now you've recompiled the theme to work with 5.1. So before, after. The next thing we're going to do, there's a whole lot of stuff you can do, but I just want to get the new icons. So again, go back to shared components. Go right here to themes, universal theme. And at the top you'll see icons. Click on that and it says library. Just change this to this, to font Apex. Apply changes and refresh. Right? So the icons have changed to the latest one. So without really doing anything, 2 clicks away, refresh the theme, set the new icons, recompile your theme in theme roller. You went from this to this, and now you're completely up to date. You have all the new stuff from Apex 5.1. So very easy to migrate. Next thing I'm going to do is show you some more of the demo application. So the next part is, how do I use this application, right? So I also use this reference application to find out exactly what templates to use, what colors to use, and so on. So I'll just walk you through a couple of things. First, if you go to get started, you just have the same links again. If I go to design section, it'll tell you, like what are the key principles behind universal theme, what's the color palette of universal theme, right? So here's all the colors, there's 15 colors, and then we make them lighter and darker to get a total of 45 colors. And then there's also stateful colors. If you have some colors for buttons that you might delete something with or have a warning icon with, you don't just use the decorative colors, you use these stateful colors, and you can change them in theme roller. You can look at how we do navigation. So if I go to grid layout, you can see here's a 12-column grid for your pages. I can click on toggle column layouts to actually see the underlying grid for my regions and page items. At the very bottom, you also see some column modifier classes. So sometimes you want to make a very compelling mobile UI where if you have a bunch of regions, you don't want them to all stack on top of each other, right? You want to control that, have some fine-tuned control. Well, you can use these modifier classes for your regions, items, and so on to control how they fit on a smaller screen. You can also see all the page templates as well. So here you go, I can kind of scroll around, I can see left side navigation. So click on this, opens up a new page, and here's my page template, right? I can see how it expands. If my screen is larger, you see what happens as well, right? The page kind of fits to match the screen. If I expand this, you see it pushes it off canvas. So there's a lot going on in this app. You can also see like navigation, like, hey, there's 2 different types of navigation positions. Here's how you do it. What's a navigation bar used for, and so on. You can see all the components we have. So for example, I like to use media lists. So I'll just scroll down to lists. Let's go to media list. And this is a very common component. We use this for a lot of our admin pages. And this will show you a couple of examples of how you can use them. So here's one where it's 2 columns, it has a badge, has a larger icon. Here's another one where there's no description text, right? Just some icons and a badge. But then here's all the substitution strings you can use. So when you have a list, you can populate all of these values. If I go to cards, cards are available as lists and reports. So you can see, here's how it is as lists. Here's an example of how it is as reports. Exact same UI. If I scroll down to list template customization, again, here's all the attributes you have. For report templates, here's the exact column aliases I need to reference in my query to put them in the right place. So you can just copy paste this into your application. And then let's go on to the icon section. I'll go into a little bit more detail here, but you can just see all the icons here, and I can search for something. For example, maybe I want a database icon. Let's type in database, and you can tell that we've expanded on font awesome, and we have 18 database icons now. Go figure. So I can click on something, and we get this little icon builder. So now I can change the size. I can add an animation to it. Now I can make it kind of spin around like it's out of control. I can also make it flat. Maybe it's very important. I can also rotate this. So I can say, oh, you know what, rotate it so on the side, the database fell down. I can also add a modifier. So I can say, you know what, maybe I'm migrating my database to someplace, or whatever it is, and it's 25% done. And I can give it a class, a color. So here's a database icon with a little modifier, right? How do you use this? Well, we give you the HTML markup and the icon classes you need to use this. So I just need to copy this in wherever I can put an icon, and now you have that exact icon. So that's the icon builder. And then under reference, we have some more things. So we have a button builder, which I'll go into. We have some stateful utilities, class, color, and status modifiers. Some JavaScript APIs you can use. Some JavaScript events you can listen to, and so on. So now, let me go into my application. So here I have an application, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through each of these things and refer back to the universal theme sample application to show you how your workflow could be when you're building something with universal theme. Okay? So I hope these are common enough use cases. The first one is you have an alert. Somewhere on your application you have a page, someone can access it, something went wrong, whatever it is, and we want to make this a little bit more impactful than just a standard warning icon. So I'm going to go into here. And this says insufficient privileges, so let me look for a user icon. Maybe I like this one. I can make it a little bit bigger. And I'm going to add a warning icon here. And make this look scary. Actually, no, I don't want that icon. Maybe I just want this one. Perfect. Copy this. Let's go back here and let's go edit this region. So edit. Now I'm in Page Designer. All I need to go to is this right side under Appearance. Now, by default, this is an alert region, so it's showing the default icons associated with the type of alert it is. Let's open this up. You can see alert type is warning. I'll change this to show custom icons, because I want to pick my own. And then right here, I'm going to paste that in. So the user, 5x, the warning modifier. Save here. Refresh this. And now it looks much more compelling, right? Fairly straightforward. Look at the sample application, copy it into this application. You can go a lot further with this. So here's some cards that I have, and I've added little modifiers to them, and I've added some very simple amount of CSS to add some background color. You can easily build a toolbar, right? So if your application has a lot of actions, you can build a toolbar that looks like this. And you can see that you can even add modifiers here or place them together as a pill button. So for example, the back and next are together, and that's just toggling some template option. Let's say that I wanted to put these two together. I can just go into Quick Edit, get this button to the right, which is the home icon, and right here it says Button Set. So I'm going to make it an inner button. Save. And let's go modify this other view. And it says first button. Again, I'm going to make it an inner button. And it just pushes it together. Right? Easy way to make a pill, button pill. Next thing. So I have a report here showing all my servers, and I can see whether they're up or down, and I can also see how much CPU and memory they're using. Now, I've already I have these percents right here. It's in increments of 5. And what I want to do is rather than show a number, which is kind of hard to read, I wish there was a way I could show a pie chart here. So no worries. I go back to Universal Theme. I'm going to click on, let's just hear some of these out. Get rid of this modifier. And that. Okay. So let's search for pie, because I want a little pie chart. And sure enough, there's all these pie chart icons from 5% down to 100% I can use as a budget pie chart. So very easy. Here's the pie chart. The formula is very simple. FA pie chart and some number, increment from 0 to 105. So let's go and modify this. So here's the CPU load. And I've actually I'm going to cheat a little bit, but I'll walk you through it. Open up HTML expression, and this is the code you'll need to paste in. So first, I have a column for color, which is just using the stateful classes like is warning, is danger. Then I have a pie chart, and the CPU load column, which will give me 5, 10, 15, 20, whatever, is there. I have a title here, which is used for accessibility. So if I hover over the icon, it'll tell me it's 15%. And that's it. So let's go do the same for the other. Run the page. And now it's much more compelling, right? You can actually tell what this means. And if I click on it, I can kind of sort by which CPU is the lowest versus the highest, and so on. So easy way to customize. Next, let's go to this buttons page. So here, I have a link in my report that says manage. What if I want to make this look like a button? Previously, it was a little bit more complicated. Here's how you do it now. So let's go to Universal Theme Sample app, go to the button builder, and here I can go and build out a button exactly how I like. So I'm going to call it manage. Let's put this here. I'll give it the icon class, maybe like an icon like this. I can make it smaller. I can put the icon to the right. I can also make it look a little bit different, but this is the default. And here's the most important piece of information. This will tell you the exact link text, link attributes to copy when you're updating a report column. So I'm just going to copy this. Okay. Let's go back to my report. Quick edit, right? I can click on the column itself. And right here, so it says link text, and paste that in. Go back to the sample app, link attributes. You just need to copy this, paste it into link attributes, save, refresh, and now I have a nice little button for my link. Right? Very easy to do. Let's talk about some utility classes. So here I have two lists, one for Michael Jackson and one for Prince. And I could add random colors to these, right? Because I want to, it's almost like a billboards chart, right? These are like top hits. And what I want to do is I want to add some personality to this page. So I can go into live template options, and I can click on apply theme colors. But this gives me like random colors, right? No, I want Michael Jackson songs to be red. That's okay. I'll click on cancel here. Let's go to the media list template in the Universal Theme Sample app. So click on components, go down to lists, media list. And I want to know if there's a way I can change the color of the icon. So I'm just going to type in color, apply theme colors. No, right here. Substitution strings. The stick substitution string for list is the color class I need to use. Now I know where to put it. Let's find a red color I could use. So I'll go to reference, color and status modifiers, and here's all the color classes I can use. So this looks like a nice red right here. Just copy that. I need to update attribute 6, right? So let's go back to my list. So quick edit this list. Okay, the list is called Michael Jackson. Edit this. And I'm going to use grid edit so I can update all of them easily. And I've already shown only attribute 6 here. So this is going to be very easy. Just kind of paste in this color. Save. And let's go do the same for the Prince list as well. And for Prince, I'm going to pick a purple color. So I'm probably going to pick this one right here. Save. All right. Now if I refresh, I got the colors, right? So maybe you're not going to have an application with Michael Jackson's top hits and Prince's top hits. But you might have an application where you want to show a certain status or a certain color or something. For example, here's a list of all the same servers again, but some of them are up and some of them are down. You will never know by looking at this unless you have X-ray vision and you can see the icon has a little X or a little check mark, right? That's the only way to tell. It would be so useful if I could just add a little color here to show it's red or green. So here's how you do that. Back to the sample app, right? If I scroll down, I should use the stateful colors because I'm indicating status of something, whether something is up or down. And it says, oh, I should use U danger or U warning and so on. Okay? back here, I just need to comment this out, the color column, save, refresh, and now it's so obvious which server is up and which server is down, right? So you can use color to convey a lot of meaning. You can use it a lot more other places as well, so it doesn't have to be just for icons or just for list items. For example, here I have a region, alert region says, hold on a second, forget to lock your garage door. And let's make this look a little bit more important. So let's go back here. Maybe I want to copy the warning style. Quickly edit this region. And under CSS Classes, just going to put that in. Refresh. And now I've added that color to the entire region. So you can add this in many other places. So that's using utility classes. Let's go on to forms. Everyone still with me? It's a lot of information, right? Okay, the good thing is it's all in the sample application, and I'm going to make this application available to download, so you don't have to, write down all the steps. Just like look at the general big picture. So let me show you some of the new features we've added to forms, right? So here I have a very simple form, and I want to do a couple of things. First, for email, at Oracle, everyone has an email address that ends in @oracle.com. So I don't want the user to even type that. I only want them to type the first part, the username, right? So I'm going to add some post text that says @oracle.com. But I want to make it look like it's part of the field. So here's how we're going to do that. Quick edit the item. Scroll down to post text, type in @oracle.com. And also, at the very bottom, there's something called inline help text. I want to ensure these users that I'm not going to spam them, right? Please give me your email address. I'm not going to spam you. So we will not spam you. Promise. Okay. Refresh. Looks like this. Not bad, but the @oracle.com doesn't quite look like it's part of the field. Let's go fix that. Quick edit. Okay. So here I have a number of options, but post text. If I set this to display as block, you'll see what happens, right? Now it looks like @oracle.com. So just save this. Now it looks proper. So I can type in keep that ramen, and it looks like it's all part of the same field. Let's go modify. Let's do the same thing for this. So salary has pre-text and post-text. This is the actual intended purpose for pre-text and post-text, to add something like a prefix or a postfix. So I'm just going to set this to display as block. Easy way to have it look like the same item. Next thing. Here I'm asking for their Twitter handle, right? So I could just type in this. But I'd want to use the Twitter icon in this field, because people are probably more familiar to that icon. So let's go edit this item. Under Appearance, you'll see something called Icon CSS Classes. So again, you can go back to your reference application, go to Icons, find Twitter, there it is. Just need to copy this, paste that in there. Of course, I could have just opened up this dialog as well, right? But I don't get all the fancy modifiers here. Refresh. And now I have a little Twitter icon. And if I click on the field, it lights up because it's an active form item, right? So there you go. Last little thing we're going to do. Here's a select list for color. So if I want to set my favorite color, first I have to click on it, read the options, and click again as to what my favorite color is. So it's not an optimal user experience to begin with. So let's go and fix that by using a radio button, a radio group. That's very simple. Just click here, radio group. And I'm going to show all three on the same line. I have plenty of space. Refresh this. So a little bit better, but you can go a little bit further. What if I want to make it look like a pill button, right? I can go into template options again. And at the very bottom, you'll see something that says radio group display. Display as pill button. Save this. And now it looks like a little pill, right? Very easy to do that. So that's forms. Let's go into to dialogue. So with universal theme in 5.1, dialogues can be automatically sizing, right? So here's a simple dialogue. It opened up small. It kind of grew to fit its content. And I just have a few fields in here. First, name, email. Do you want to receive emails? Do you want to provide sensitive information? If I click on yes, notice the dialogue just automatically grew, right? It just grew to fit the contents inside. If I say no, it shrinks back. This is default behavior of universal theme in 5.1. Now, let's say you do want to have a set height. So maybe I have a wizard dialog, something like this. I want them to go through a wizard. You just set the height on the first step, and it'll carry through any other dialog page it's using. So step 2, step 3, step 4, and so on. It's just going to take that first height. Last thing. Sometimes you want to have a dialog that stretches over your entire screen, right? Maybe you have an admin console page or something. You say, oh, let me view all my servers. Click on it, opens up a full dialog. Here's all of my servers. And you know what? I want to change something here. So let's go modify the first server. And sorry, it actually is going down. Apply changes. It all works. And it's all within the context of a dialog. Now, people typically say don't have a dialog within the dialog. But that's typically the case when you have a small dialog that opens up another smaller dialog, right? Then you kind of lose context of where you're coming from. In this case, although it's a dialog page, it looks like a full screen page, right? At that point, it's appropriate to have smaller dialogues within this. So I can quickly act on a server and jump back to where my context came from. So that's dialogues. Everyone still with me?
Yep.
Okay. I know I'm talking a lot and talking fast, but hopefully you get something out of this. The last thing I want to show you is advanced grid layout. So here's a bunch of regions I have with some color blocks. And we're going to resize this, and just notice what happens, right? This is the default behavior. They get smaller, 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 and eventually at a certain point, they just kind of collapse on top of each other, right? And sometimes this is not desirable behavior. You still want them to be side by side. Maybe you have a dashboard page, something you're laying out, and you don't want them to go to that state right away. So let's go back to the Universal Theme Sample app. I'll go to Layout, Grid Layout. And it says right here, you can fine-tune responsive behavior components using these modifier classes by modifying the CSS, the column CSS property. Okay. So let's make it to the first group. As you get smaller, they continue to be side by side. So fairly easy to do. Let me just get the CY a little bit. Okay, so here's my region. I'm gonna hold down Control or Command on my Mac, select them all. Scroll to where it says Column CSS Classes right here, and I type in call. I want to target small screen, so XSS. Okay, XSS. And when it's really small, I want them to still take up 3 columns. So 3, 3, 3, 3, 12 columns total. They should all line up. Refresh the page. Let's see what we've done. So it's smaller, smaller, smaller. Smaller, smaller, smaller. What happened? Why didn't this work?
I think the class was wrong.
Hmm?
I think the class was wrong.
Ah, you're right. Sorry. I wanted this one.
Exactly.
It's a little confusing. It's kind of hard to see, but it's XXS, XSS, XS. I can take the full blame for that. Okay, let's try this again. There we go, right? That's what we want. Sometimes you may want this behavior. Alternatively, you can do something else. You can say, you know what, I want these guys to be 2 by 2, or 2, 1, 1, and so on. So you just need to set the right classes for the other regions, and you can make it happen. So that's grid layout. So that was my big demo. Next, what's coming in APEX 5.2? Safe harbor. So again, the goal of Universal Theme has been to be responsive, versatile, and customizable. Right? That's the 3 kind of key principles behind Universal Theme. how do we make our applications do that? And with 5.2, you may have heard Carson say that, hey, jQuery mobile, unfortunately, as much as we want it to work with Apex 5.2, it's not going to be there, right? It just doesn't make sense to have these two different conflicting versions of jQuery and still continue to use Jet, but there's all these technical issues behind it. So what does that mean? It means Universal Theme needs to step up to be able to support these mobile use cases, right? And we're probably not going to get there right away, but keeping in mind with these three principles, we should be able to get to a point where you don't need to build a separate mobile application. And that's already the trend anyway, right? We ask all these customers, we ask them like, hey, are you using jQuery mobile or are you using Universal Theme? And an overwhelming majority of them are using Universal Theme to build mobile applications as well. And as developers, you shouldn't have to choose, do I want a mobile slimmed down app or do I want like a normal app where everyone can do all the functionality? So the idea is we're going to focus on all of them. But for responsive in particular, there's a few things we can improve. So the first one is we want to provide declarative touch events. Just like in jQuery mobile, if you wanted to have a swipe trigger some behavior, right? We want to be able to support that. If you want to have like a tap and you do something with it, you can do that now. For example, there's a carousel region in the Universal Theme. It would be nice if I can just swipe and the carousel changes, right? That's the kind of behavior we want to support with Universal Theme. We want to also improve responsive style. So I was talking to a gentleman earlier who said that, hey, now that jQuery mobile is going away, Universal Theme doesn't kind of give you like tabs at the bottom of my screen or to the right of my screen for a hamburger menu and so on. So we'd like to see what we can do to improve this type of behavior. So the styles that we have, the components that we have, they could be made more responsive or easier to be made more responsive. The next thing is also we want to improve the load performance, right? This might not happen overnight, but over time we want to clean up our CSS and see if there's ways where we can only load what's really needed. But that's the overall. And again, I want to point out this thing right here. Versatility, right? So in Apex 5.2, so in Apex 5.1, we had Font Awesome. But Font Awesome was a great start. We noticed a lot of people are using them in contexts where they need to be a little bit larger, and they don't quite scale as well, right? They're a little bit, any icon that's designed for 16 by 16, when you blow it up to 4 times its size, it's going to look a little clunky, right? It's just not made for that size of detail. So we're working on something called Font Apex HD. So basically, we're not sure exactly what we're going to do yet, but we want to have a way to display Font Apex in a manner that's more appropriate for different sizes, for larger sizes, for example. So this is something that we're working on actively to make it that you can use Font Apex icons in larger contexts. Something else. Here's how forms look right now in a Universal Theme application. And in Apex 5.2, the default will look something like this. So it has a floating labels UI. So as I focus in on a field, the label gets smaller, right? If you have a placeholder, it's okay, it doesn't matter. I go to the next select list, field gets smaller, yes, no stay the same, checkboxes, they all line up. So this is the new default for Universal Theme in Apex 5.2, which is called floating labels. So now when you pick a label, you'll be able to pick one which is inline, which is the default right now, above, or a floating label. Next, we're improving our cards. We notice a lot of our customers are using cards for a number of different things, and we want to make them a little bit more flexible. So, we have this kind of card system. They'll be most likely exposed as template options, where you can specify exactly how you want your header to behave, what size of the card it is. Maybe also have some media components within the card. So if you wanted to have a media list within the card, here's a simple way where you can do something like that. So that's versatility. The next thing is customizability, right? I don't have a whole lot of detail for you, but the key is to enable you to get more out of your Universal Theme investment. So the first thing is a lot of customers want to override the template options that are provided out of the box, right? So we have a media list or something, and you want it to always use colors, or you want to always hide the description or something. Right now, you can't really do that without unsubscribing your Universal Theme. we want to provide a way where you can say, hey, all of my buttons should look like this with these options and still maintain that subscription to Universal Theme. That's the first thing. The next thing is we want to have additional options, additional theme styles, and also improve theme rolling. So there's a few quirks. I think we could do a better job at allowing you to pick better colors. So hopefully we're going to improve that. So all of that together is Universal Theme in APEX 5.2. But I don't just work on Universal Theme. And like I said, I work on a lot of special projects. And one of my pet projects for this release is something called Spotlight. So I'll give you a brief demo right here. Carson kind of mentioned it. So on my Mac, I kind of hold this shortcut down, Command Space, and that opens up this little kind of search bar in the middle of my screen, and I can quickly type something in. If I want to open up mail, I type in MA, which says mail, right? Click enter, opens up a mail client. If I want to send an email, I can just type in email or whatever. It'll compose a new message and so on. And similar in Apex Builder. So what if I click the shortcut and I got something like this, right? And now I can navigate anywhere within Apex really quickly. So if I want to go to shared components, I just type in SHA. It'll say shared components. Whatever else starts with SHA. Click enter. It'll take me there directly. I can search my page for shared. I can search my application for shared, and I can search all of my applications, right? So basically a unified search experience, search and navigation throughout all of the builder. And one of the primary motivations behind this is Apex is a large product now, and it's kind of hard to navigate to all the different nooks and crannies of Apex, right? You want to get someone to cross-page utilities, it's quite difficult to say, oh, go to the Apex Builder main page, click on an application, click on utilities. From the right side, click on cross-page utilities, right? You should be able to open this up, quickly type in cross-page utilities, click enter, and go there immediately. So that's the motivation behind this. We also want to hook it up with Page Designer. So if I type in name, and I have a name item, first name and last name, it'll just show up in the list. So I can open this up in Page Designer, type in name, it'll show me all the items, and then it'll show me other things which have it. Click enter, it'll focus on that item. Once an item has been focused, I open it up again, I can type in, oh, template. It'll focus me on the template property of that item. So I think this is going to be used by a lot of people, and it'll provide a lot of value for people that are not only professional users or pro users, right, where they really want to get to places as fast as they can, but also for newcomers to Apex, where they need to go somewhere and they're not quite sure what the navigation path is to go there. So that's Apex Spotlight. Effortless navigation, that's the primary goal. Then it's going to be Page Center enabled, so you can open up in Page Center and still search. And overall, throughout the entire builder, it's going to be unified search experience. And a big safe harbor. That's all I have. So thank you very much.